Religion and Thought in China's Golden Age. This is Section 2, Chapter 10. Please be in your note-taking study guide on page 124 and your textbook on page 275. We're going to start with, there's four kind of major effects: Taoism, religious belief systems that affected China, Taoism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and then Neo-Confucianism. The first is Taoism. It began as a philosophy and eventually grew into a religion. The basic philosophy is all things, earth, heaven, and people, should follow the Tao, or the Way. And the effects of this on Chinese culture is many Taoists withdrew from society and lived close to nature. The second kind of philosophy that influenced China is Buddhism. The beginnings was that it was based on the teaching of Siddhartha Gautama, or the Buddha, and entered China during the Han Dynasty. The philosophy is Gautama, just real briefly, talked about that life involves suffering, and the way to escape suffering is to give up your worldly desires and seek enlightenment, or perfect wisdom. There was two kind of major sects of Buddhism in China. First is Pure Land, and this is the belief that you basically worship Amitabha, and they believe that they would go to a paradise called Pure Land after death if they worship this person. And then the second one is the Chan, and this is a belief that enlightenment is achieved through being aware and living in the present moment. The effect, or the reasons that people opposed Buddhism in China initially was that it had no roots in Chinese culture, so they thought it was un-Chinese, and that it taught people to leave society and the family life, and that there was this fear that Buddhist institutions became too wealthy and too powerful. They had too much money and too much influence. The third belief system that influenced China was Confucianism. It's based on the teachings of Confucius, and it began as a practical philosophy of how to live, and eventually it comes into religion when we talk about Neo-Confucianism. The philosophy is respect for family, respect for social order, there's moral virtue, and there's also valued education. The effect of this on Chinese culture was that it created a peaceful and stable society. There was this belief that obedience to people of higher rank was very important. And society valued learning and education, and rulers justified actions in terms of people's well-being. If it was a good thing for the people, then it was justified action. And the fourth and final belief system was Neo-Confucianism, and this began because Taoism and Buddhism made Confucian scholars think about religious questions. Because, remember, Confucianism was a practical philosophy, but it became a religion because Taoism and Buddhism influenced Confucianism. And the philosophy is interpreted classical Confucian writings to answer questions about the meaning and purpose of life. So regular writings by Confucius, well, how can we apply this to what life and means and the purpose of life is? The effect that this had on Chinese society was that there was great influence on China from the Song period on. So Confucianism, and really Neo-Confucianism, continues to affect the Chinese belief system and influence its way of life.